of the European Pediatric Translational Research Infrastructure, and in a few minutes we will start. Okay, good morning, everybody. As I said at the beginning, I'm Valeria Pignataro, Scientific Officer of the European Translational Research Infrastructure, EPTRI. I am pleased to welcome you to the last event of EPTRI for the European Biotech Week. And today's event is on the pediatric formulations carrying biotech drugs, with a special focus on the COVID-19 vaccines. The webinar is organized by the Department of Pharmacy, Drug Science of the University of Bari, Aldo Moro, and Consorzio per Valutazioni Biologiche e Farmacologiche on behalf of EPTRI. Some tips for today. This webinar is scheduled for 1 hour. Please turn your camera off and also mute your microphone. Please write your questions and comments in the chat box. The slides and the recordings will be available on the EPTRI website and YouTube channels in the next days. And the meeting is being recorded for dissemination purposes. If you want to reach us, here below there are our contacts. So today's speakers of the tandem presentations are Professor Nunzio De Nora, Professor of Pharmaceutical Technology and Drug Regulation at the Department of Pharmacy, Drug Science at the University of Bari, Aldo Moro, and Dr. Viviana Giannuzzi, Head of the Research Department at Fondazione per la Ricerca Farmacologica Gianni Benzi Onlus. So now I am pleased to give the presenter to Professor De Nora and leave him the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Valeria, for your assistance. Okay. And your kind introduction. So, as you can see from my first slide, this is a tandem presentation. So the first part will be presented by me, and the second part, as already said by Valeria, will be presented by Dr. Viviana Giannuzzi, Head of Research Department of Fondazione per la Ricerca Farmacologica Gianni Benzi Onlus. I am here representing the University of Bari Aldo Moro, which is one of the oldest state Italian university, which reached its institutional goals in teaching and also in research by departments. And I would like to mention the Department of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences of the University of Bari, which is a multidisciplinary department which is devoted to the development of new medicinal products. And I would like also to introduce the institution Fondazione per la Ricerca Farmacologica Gianni Benzi Onlus, which is a foundation which promotes research in biological, medical, and also in pharmaceutical areas in support of innovative and safe medicines development in the European country. And as we can see in this image, the foundation is involved in many activities, and among them, I would like to underline the regulatory and ethics within collaborative research project dissemination and also knowledge translation. Okay, so both the institutions are part of a consortium, in particular with the Consorzio per Valutazioni Biologiche e Farmacologiche, CVBF, which mission is to perform innovative research initiative in Europe, and in particular to enhance the pediatric research from early discovery to clinical phases through networking the scientific community and collaboration between stakeholders with an ethical, patient-centered approach. The CVBF is also the EPTRI coordinator. EPTRI stands for European Pediatric Translational Research Infrastructure, which aims to create the framework for a new research infrastructure intended to enhance technology-driven pediatric research in drug discovery and early development phases to be translated into clinical research and pediatric use of medicines. There are in EPTRI also several thematic research platforms, and among them I would like to mention the pediatric medicine discovery and pediatric biomarkers and biosample platforms, but also the pharmacology and pediatric medicine formulation research platforms. So this is the outline of the day. I would like to start from the state of the art concerning the pediatric medicinal products approved by EMA, with a particular focus on the development of vaccine formulation by looking to the past, the present, and the future. And as I said before, the second part will be presented by Dr. Viviana Giannuzzi. So in recent papers, we can find that children in Europe represent more than 20% of the population, with about 100 million people aged less than 19 years. Nevertheless, this a very high percentage of the marketed drugs do not include a pediatric authorization and have not been properly tested and presented for the pediatric population. This because the pediatric population is characterized by heterogeneity. In fact, we should consider that the children cannot be considered small adults, and we have at least five different age classes, which of them require specific needs. And so there are several aspects behind the research and development and the approval of pediatric medicines. First of all, this population needs tailor-made formulations. There are ethical concerns and also need for specific criteria to evaluate the safety and the efficacy of the developed drug. We should consider also the cost of the pediatric clinical trials, which usually are higher than adult clinical trials, and also the challenges in the recruitment of pediatric trials and difficulties in trial designs. Very interesting is this recent paper published in Frontiers in Medicine by Tom et al. In 2021, which is presenting the number of pediatric medicinal products, but also of pediatric active substances which have been approved by EMA in a period between January 96 and December 2019. As we can see in this graph, the number of pediatric medicine, but also the number of pediatric active substances is slowly increasing by starting from 2007. In fact, we can see that in this period between 2007 and 2019, 296 new pediatric medicinal products have been approved by EMA. And in particular, I would like to give you some characteristic of these drugs. In fact, as we can see here, if we look to the new pediatric medicine divided by age, the number of new products approved by EMA for preterm and also term newborn and infants remains very, very low. So there is a need in that age groups. Very interesting is also this graph. In fact, we can see here that if we are looking to the ADC categories, the most represented category is the anti-infectives for systemic use. However, by seeing this table, we can say that among the 296 new products, just the 28% are new drugs which have been based on the use of biological drugs. So there is a lack also in innovative drugs such as biological medicines or advanced therapy medicinal products. However, concerning the COVID-19 global pandemic, things are changing because for the first time we have used a very innovative vaccine, which have been based on the use of biologicals, but also we have been used, which have been also used on the on some new pharmaceutical technology formulations such as the nanoparticles. As we know, children of all age are susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 infection, and although the majority of cases of COVID-19 in children are asymptomatic or mild, there are several reports that highlights that some children require hospitalization and in some cases also intensive care. I would like also to underline that even though much of the mortality has occurred in older adults, substantial morbidity and mortality also occur sadly in children. So the development of a safe and for sure effective vaccine for both adults and the children against COVID-19 infection is imperative, and to mitigate the morbidity and also the mortality. At the present, we have more than 270 vaccines in development, and the majority of them are vaccines in adults clinical trials. There are several aspects behind the availability of pediatric vaccines, which are in this slide, such as ethical concerns, no clear criteria for evaluating the potential risk of children's exposure in a trial, and for sure challenges in recruitment for pediatric trials. The first COVID-19 vaccine approved by EMA for children aged between 12 and 15 in Europe was a very innovative vaccine, which has been approved in May 2021. And it is very innovative because it's based on the delivery of a messenger RNA, which is a nucleic acid for therapy. So among them, I would like to underline the use of DNA, RNA, coding and non-coding, and also modified nucleotides, and also viral and non-viral vectors. But this vaccine is very innovative because for the first time, we are using lipid nanoparticles. So if we are looking to the timeline, the use of RNA for therapy is not very new. In fact, RNA has been discovered in 1961 as a messenger RNA and reached the clinical trial for the first time in 2010. The first RNA-based drug has been approved in 2018. So why we are using these biological drugs? Because these biological drugs have many therapeutic advantages compared with small molecules or antibodies and proteins. In fact, RNA are characterized by target antagonism, fast action, and are very easy to produce. But on the other hand, I would like also to say that this kind of material is very, very unstable and suffer of chemical and enzymatic degradation in vitro and also in vivo. For this reason, it is necessary to formulate this kind of biotech drug by using suitable formulations. Currently, there are 8 different classes of vaccine which can be divided, as we can see in this slide, for origins, composition, and immunogenicity. However, for the vaccines, for the COVID-19 vaccines, 4 platforms have been explored. The first one is inactivated vaccine. The second one is the subunit vaccine. The most innovative one are RNA vaccines, which are based on the use of nanotechnology-based carriers, such as liposome or more in general lipid nanoparticles, and finally the vector-based vaccines. So let's take a deeper look to this formulation. These formulations are very innovative because we are using for the first time lipid nanoparticles, which are based on the use of several pharmaceutical grade excipients, which are summarized in this very nice picture. They are pegylated lipid, ionizable lipid, phospholipid, and cholesterol, and for sure the biological drug, which is the messenger RNA. Each of the protect this kind of biological drugs from the environment. They also facilitate the endosomal escape from the endocytic pathway into the target cells. And the second class is cholesterol. Cholesterol is very important in the formulation because it's not important as from a structural point of view, but it's important. Basically, it's very important for endocytosis to improve the endocytosis of this nanocarrier by low-density lipid receptor and also ApoE receptor. Helper lipids have been used for structural purposes, while the stabilizers are very, very important pharmaceutical grade excipients because they are able to stabilize the nanoparticles. They have used the pegylated phospholipids, which confer to the nanoparticles a very hydrophilic shell, with conferring stealth properties against the human immune systems. So let's now take a look to the information of the already approved vaccines for pediatric use. The first one is Comirnaty from Pfizer, which is a concentrate for dispersion and is intended for the intramuscular injection. This vaccine needs to be diluted before injection and is based on several pharmaceutical grade excipients, which some of them are in this slide, and I would like to show you the cationic lipid and also the pegylated phospholipid. And as active substances, they use a messenger RNA. About the therapeutic indication, this kind of vaccine is indicated for active immunization to prevent the COVID-19 infection in individuals 12 years of age and older. Concerning the second one is Spikevax and from Moderna, and this is a dispersion for injection. And this kind of vaccine does not need to be diluted before injection. This is again based on the use of messenger RNA formulated as lipid nanoparticle based on the use of these pharmaceutical excipients. And again, we can see a cationic lipid and also a pegylated lipid. And again, this vaccine is indicated for active immunization to prevent the COVID-19 infection in individuals 12 years of age and older. However, even if these vaccines are very innovative, there are some drawbacks, some limitation concerning especially the stability. In fact, as you know, this kind of vaccines required to be stored at low temperature. And also, there are several problems concerning the compliance. In a recent survey reports that more than 60% of children have fear of needles, and this is a significant barrier to vaccination. So to overcome this problem, we are proposing for the next future the microneedles patch, which are short and very narrow enough to prevent the dermal nerve stimulation, and so there is no pain associated with the administering vaccine through this route. Moreover, this kind of vaccine are also characterized by increased vaccine effectiveness. They don't need trained personnel. There is no need for the cold chain, and this is a very cheap technology. So this is my last slide, and now I give the podium to Dr. Viviana Giannuzzi, head of the research department of Fondazione per la Ricerca Farmacologica Gianni Benzi Onlus, which is going to talk you about the regulatory path for pediatric medicines and the status of development and authorization COVID-19 vaccine for pediatric use. Thank you for your attention, and Viviana, the podium is yours.
Thank you very much, Nunzio, and good morning, everyone. Can you properly see my screen? And
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. So, as Nunzio said, I'm going to complete this presentation, providing you an overview of the regulatory path for pediatric medicines, and in particular, focusing on COVID-19 vaccine for pediatric use. So, as Nunzio said, the pediatric research has many challenges. So, pediatric studies are more difficult to perform, but it is well known. And this affect the availability of medicines properly studied for children and so available on the market, as Nunzio showed us at the beginning of the presentation. But the point is that in order to have a pediatric medicine on the market, we still need to have a research and development process to get data on quality, safety, and efficacy, as well as for adult. So we start from the pharmaceutical quality and the laboratory studies. Then we have non-clinical studies. Let's consider that sometimes we need specific preclinical studies with juvenile animal and appropriate animal model just to get data on the use of pediatric medicines. And then we have clinical trial involving children. The marketing authorization application, and then the national pricing and reimbursement procedure. After the marketing authorization, we have the commercial factoring and the safety monitoring that is important, especially considering the need for follow-up data for children. But if from one hand we have the need for specific studies to study medicines for children, of course, on the other hand, we need that these studies are to be carried out under special conditions. Let's think about all the ethical challenges related, for example, to the informed consent and assent, and the need for minimizing pain, discomfort, and the distress of children as much as possible. So at the end of the day, we need to have this study, but the regulatory environment allow us to have specific guidance to properly conduct the research and development for pediatric medicine, starting from the non-clinical studies, the pharmaceutical development, the clinical trials, specifically the PK and the neonate one. The EMEA also offer a set of guidelines, recommendation, and regulatory document on specific areas, including specific therapeutic areas, to properly study medicines for children. This, of course, is justified by the challenges that the applicant and the researchers should address in such an effort. Focusing on the formulations and the pharmaceutical development, we have specific guidance even in this case to allow the appropriateness of the pharmaceutical design. We have also a WHO document for the pharmacy practice, for example, in order to have alternative for compounding medicines. And then we have an EMEA reflection paper on the available information of what is already gained in the knowledge of pediatric formulations, also providing example of authorized product. But actually, of course, the real revolution in this setting is the pediatric regulation that was issued in 2006, and it is aimed to improve the health of children, improving the high quality health research, enhancing the availability of medicines, as well as information on the use of pediatric medicines. This is to be done avoiding unnecessary studies in children and avoiding the delay of authorization for medicine, adult medicines. Very quickly, how to get these aims. First of all, the pediatric regulation issues an ad hoc pediatric committee at the EMEA, and then we have a pediatric investigation plan that is a plan of all studies necessary for the demonstrating quality, efficacy, and safety in children. By implementing a system of obligations, rewarded incentives, because the pediatric regulation obliged the companies to study medicine for children, and in particular the new medicines or the new indication, route, or formulation of a patent product. The reward for such effort is the 6 month of the supplementary patent certificate, also in case of negative results. So we can have a product authorized only for adult if the pediatric investigation plan reveals negative results for children. And then we have a voluntary PIP covering the pediatric indication and formulation with the famous PUMA. That rewards 10 years of market exclusivity. In order to avoid any unnecessary study and any delay for adult medicine, we have a system of waivers and deferrals, meaning that if the medicine is unsafe for children or the condition does not occur in children, companies agree with the PDCO waiving to conduct the PIP, or they can agree a deferral, meaning that the PIP should be completed before getting the marketing authorization. But in specific cases agreed with PDCO, this study may be deferred and then may be completed also after the initial marketing authorization. Here it is a more clear picture of the PIP. In the European Union, the PIP should be submitted at the end of the phase 1 of the adult development, and then we have the conduct of pediatric studies. And as I mentioned, then once when the marketing authorization is applied, then we should have the complete PIP, of course, unless a waiver or a deferral. The point is that in this process, we need to liaise not only with the PDCO, but also with other scientific committee at EMEA level. For example, if the medicine is an orphan product, then we have the involvement of the COMP, the Committee for Orphan Medicine. And if we have an advanced therapy, we have the involvement of the CAT and so on. So this is the standard process, and I would like to show you and share with you the complexity of the regulatory system, but also how the pediatric development is fully within this process. And it's not something that is outside of it. In Europe, for this type of medicines, targeting the HIV, cancer, diabetes, neurodegenerative, and immune diseases or viral diseases, as well as for advanced therapies, orphans, and biotech product, we have mandatorily the European centralized procedure. What I mean is that even if Here it is a centralized procedure. What does it mean? It means that we have a procedure lasting maximum 210 days, where we have the involvement of the CHMP. We have a unique marketing authorization in Europe that is valid in all the European member states at the same time. We have a centralized safety monitoring, and we have the product information available in all European languages. So it's a real opportunity to have a quick and an harmonized procedure all around Europe. Just coming back, I would like to focus on the possibility to have a conditional marketing authorization in special cases, in particular for medicines addressing unmet needs, which are severe disease, for example, the orphan rare diseases, or for public health emergencies. The benefit of such procedure is that we have a quicker availability, a quicker marketing authorization, even if we have less data, but the risk-benefit balance is favorable for benefits. It's valid for 1 year, but the company is obliged to complete the studies and collecting additional data to confirm the positive benefit-risk balance. This is the same for vaccine for COVID-19. We need to have the same research and development pathway. We have the marketing authorization and then the pricing and reimbursement, even if we have a special procedure here that I'm going to explain you. For this type of vaccine, we have the same rules. We need to have a PIP. The centralized procedure is mandatory for biotech vaccines, but strongly recommended for all vaccines, as stated by the EPTRI of Medicines Agency very clearly, in order to have quickly the vaccine all around Europe. The European institutions promptly react against the pandemic, and the EMEA put in place a specific mechanism to intervene in the development of vaccines for COVID in all the phases, in the development, in the evaluation, and then in the post-marketing procedures. First of all, a multidisciplinary task force has been set up at EMEA level. This task force, that is made up of experts in the field, can be informally consulted during the development. We can have an early and rapid scientific advice from the EMEA, and the European Medicine Agency also released specific guidance for clinical trials, not only for clinical trials testing vaccines and therapeutics for COVID-19, but also for all other clinical trials that have been affected by the pandemic. We have an accelerated evaluation. I showed you that in general, the centralized procedure is to be concluded in 210 days. Now we have 150 days for the evaluation. We have a new procedure that is the rolling review, meaning that the EMEA is reviewing data once become available. So it's very important to have such a procedure. And then we have the monitoring of vaccine safety in the real life. As I mentioned, we have national pricing and reimbursement, but for COVID vaccine, we have a centralized pricing and reimbursement with a so-called advanced purchase agreement that the European Commission has set up with the individual companies to have a centralized one. So it's very important, and even it's well known, everyone is speaking about the pricing and reimbursement procedure done at European level. Which is the status? Here it is for the authorized vaccine. As Nunzio mentioned, we have vaccines authorized on the market from BioNTech, Pfizer, from Moderna, from AstraZeneca and Janssen. We have currently also 5 medicines under rolling review. Specifically, as Nunzio said, both Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech vaccine have been recently authorized for children older than 12 years. Specifically, both of them, what does it mean that they are authorized for children? We have a specific therapeutic indication for children. We have a specific posology for them, and the specific safety profile. The same for the Moderna vaccine. As you can see here, both vaccines have the same posology for adolescents and adults, and we have not a specific pediatric formulation, but we have only one formulation both for children and for adults. Here it is a very summarizing picture of the PIP already agreed by the PDCO. We have the PIP of the 2 vaccines already authorized for children. Let's consider that they still include other studies that are ongoing. For studies involving adolescents, we have still the collection of follow-up data, of course. And as you can see here, this PIP cover all the pediatric population, even if the applicants could agree with the PDCO the need for having studies also with neonates or not, because of course we still need to know the outcomes from clinical studies with older children. We have the PIP from AstraZeneca, but please consider that the pediatric studies with this vaccine have been suspended. The same for Janssen one. And then we have 3 other PIP including vaccine from Novavax, Sanofi Pasteur, and CureVac. If we have a look at the European Clinical Trial Register, 12 clinical trials are listed here that are included in the agreed PIP, they result or ongoing, but of course we do not know if it's updated. And importantly, 6 of them are sponsored by not-for-profit organizations. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. I thank you, the speakers, Professor De Nora and Dr. Giannuzzi. I have a first question that is the formulation of pediatric mRNA COVID-19 approved vaccine approved the same as that for adults?
I can answer to this, but for sure, so Viviana will be able to answer or add some details. Yes, this is the same formulations. So there are no differences in terms of composition and also in terms of drug delivery system. So they are using both the same lipid nanoparticles. And I think that Viviana can add some more details concerning the specific procedure, which starts as usually from adults clinical trial.
Thank you, Nunzio. Yes, of course. Just to add that this is also demonstrated by the fact that the agreed PIP did not include any additional quality study. So we have PIP including only clinical studies. So this means that we have any further pediatric development, but they are going to use the same formulation. Yes.
Thank you so much. Now I have two questions that has been sent directly to me. One for Professor De Nora, if there are any difficulties in developing microneedle patches for children instead of the current administration route.
Well, this new technology are very easy to perform, and so it's there are no difficulties in developing this new kind of drug delivery systems. Of course, you need to develop this referring to specialized research unit, and I want to add also that actually there is the first example of a microneedle patch for the delivery of anti-flu vaccine is already on the market.
Thank you so much. Dr. Giannuzzi, the question for you is that, do you think that there are any further improvements to speed up or make the procedure easier to access the market for vaccines?
At which level it? I just to comment that I think that our authorities at least at European level are doing are putting in place the best effort to speed up the availability of medicines, of vaccines and medicines for both adult and children, still keeping the required quality, efficacy and safety demonstration. I think that they are going very quickly. They are trying to put in place as much as possible the best procedure to still balance the need for having quickly medicines for children, and that will also including not only vaccines but also therapeutics. And from the other end, to still keep the due demonstration of their efficacy and safety.
Thank you so much. So I invite you to write any further questions in the chat box. And in the meantime, I ask to Professor De Nora and Dr. Giannuzzi if they want to add some final words regarding their presentation, like a 1 minute phrase or something like this.
I don't know, Nunzio, if you would like to start providing some details, maybe. Don't know.
I don't know which kind of details I might add to my presentation. It's much more easy, you know, if someone is asking also a curiosity or something like that. Would you like to add something, Viviana?
No, I basically agree with you. I think that we try to provide some new information, but still trying to provide the general background for the audience. So yeah, I agree with you. If someone would like to ask some details that we did not include in our presentation for time reasons, of course, they are welcome.
Yeah, maybe I can add something. I escaped some slides, but concerning the increasing number over time of biological drugs. In fact, the trend is changing. We are switching. We are in a period in a particular period, and we are changing the drugs from small molecules, so coming from the synthesis to biological drugs. And this trend is increasing very fast in some areas, some therapeutic areas. And one of these is for sure the infectives, but there are also many other areas, and among them I would like also to underline the use of these new therapeutic drugs for cancers, so as anti-cancer agents. In fact, there is an advanced clinical trial concerning the use also of RNAs for the treatment of tumors, not just for adults, but also tumors which are affecting also the pediatric population. So there are many innovations which are coming by using this new kind of biologicals or biotech in general.
Yeah, maybe I would just like to add another detail on the use of vaccine in the pediatric population, because of course we heard a lot about the concerns, the safety concerns coming from the use of vaccines after the marketing authorization. As the EMA clearly states, I would say regularly, the benefit-risk balance is still positive. For example, focusing on children and on the two already approved indications for children, this is still a positive risk-benefit balance. And there are a lot of studies, for example, on the risk of myocarditis in children. It is one of the most severe adverse events coming from their administration. Because in general, these vaccines are very well tolerated, very safe, with a very good safety profile, both in adult and in children, where it's demonstrated that myocarditis in children triggered from the use of vaccines could be well managed, and in any case are still with the positive benefit balance, because of course the negative outcomes from the COVID-19 infection are even more serious. So there is a great attention even in the post-marketing phase. Let's consider that adolescents receiving vaccine in the real life are still monitored. And so as I mentioned, the companies are required to provide EMA with updated data on the safety profile. even at a long term. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to thank you so much our speakers and also you for participating to the webinar. And in case you have any further question, you can write directly to me in the mail in which I sent you the GoToMeeting connection details, and I will share the question with our speakers. So I thank you all and have a nice day.
Thank you very much all.
Bye.
Thanks for your attention. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye.